We will be discussing the supple solid phase extraction device here. Here we have the holder with fiber installed in it. The first thing we'd like to go over is the use of the fiber needle. Here, to expose the needle, we can thread on the end needle holder to expose the needle and injection guide. This we can position with the rubber O-ring here and also the inch measurements on the outside of this device. In order to expose the fiber when we would be doing an injection or an extraction from a sample compartment, we can depress the plunger and turn it slightly clockwise in order to expose the fiber. In order to retract the fiber, gently push down on the plunger and turn counterclockwise. In order to expose the fiber to your sample, please use the supplied wooden stand. Once you do this, set up the sample vial where the SPME holder rests on the top of it. Once you have the needle guide slightly above the solution level, you can then lower the fiber into your solution for the desired amount of time. Once you are done exposing the fiber to your sample, you can then retract the fiber and move it over to the GC-MS. When you're ready to inject your sample on the GC, what you'll need to do is first set up the method that you would like to run. So in the top drop-down menu, go to Method Run. Here you can now enter the file name that you would like to save for your data. Once that file name has been entered, you can also enter the operator's name and also information about that sample. Once this is complete, you can then click Run Method. Once you click Run Method, the instrument will then tell you that it is ready to run the sample. Once you now see that it says prepare to inject, you can get ready to inject the SPME sample. So now that you are ready to inject your sample, what you want to make sure is that the needle is exposed to the proper depth. Once that is ready, we can then insert the needle with the fiber retracted into the GC inlet. Once the device is all the way down on the inlet, we can then expose the fiber. After the fiber is exposed, you can then click Start on the instrument. Now be sure to leave the fiber in this part of the instrument for at least 1 to 2 minutes to ensure that all the sample has been removed from the fiber. Before pulling the fiber from the instrument, be sure to retract the fiber and then you can remove it from the GC. Once your chromatogram has been collected, we can go here to the Enhanced Data Analysis in order to look at the data. What you will need to do is go to File, Load Data File. This will then pull up the screen where you can find where you saved the data file from the chromatogram. Here I will load a sample file that I collected. Here we can see on the left side we have the intensity of the peaks that come out, and on the bottom we have the time axis. What is shown as the default is the total ion chromatogram. That is the sum of all the different ions the mass spec detects. We have a few different options to analyze these. One is to go to chromatogram and look at an exact ion chromatogram. I would suggest doing this when you have a complicated sample. By doing this, you will basically only look at the ions that you select in this window. The final thing you might like to do is to be able to integrate this peak. In order to do that, go to Chromatogram, Integrate. After clicking Integrate, you can go to Integration Results. When you pull up this window, it will then list all the peaks with retention times of all the compounds that have eluted from the column.